Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York, 401 on these airwaves. Thank you to Frank for Vinyl Triumph every Wednesday during the school breaks there at Vassar. He's here from 2 to 4 p.m. Plus, you'll get to hear an extended version of Vinyl Triumph next Wednesday because there will be no LocalMotion, and Frank is kind enough to cover for the show. So if you tune in this time next week, you'll be hearing Frank. And you're tuned into LocalMotion. I'm your host, Rita Ryan, here for the next 2 hours with you each and every Wednesday from 4 to 6. If this is your first time tuning into LocalMotion, this show is all about music of the Hudson Valley, musicians that live here, those that come to perform here, and those that come to record in our world-class area recording studios. Today is show number 237 for me on these airwaves, and I 99.9% of the time have a guest. Today, it holds no exception, and we're doing things safely here, so all my guests for the foreseeable future are on the phone. Today, I'm so thrilled to have Jamie Saft with me. So much to talk about with him. He is a composer, multi-instrumentalist, and has worked with some amazing people. So we're going to take a listen to some of his music, and then we're going to talk to him. And Jamie Saft, he's terrific. I saw him perform at the Falcon back in March, one of the last live concerts that we were able to see before, of course, the world kind of shut down. So, I saw him perform there with a couple of great jazz people, and invited him to come on, and luckily he's available, and we're gonna talk to him. And let's see, I'm going to play a track from him that he did with Steve Swallow and Bobby Previtt featuring Iggy Pop. Actually, no, I'm lying to you. This is with Steve Swallow and Bobby Previtt, You Don't Know the Life. It's a cover of a Moving Sidewalks tune and Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top's band before ZZ Top. So this is an oldie but goodie. So let's take a listen to some Jamie Saft right here, right now, and then we'll talk to him shortly thereafter. Thanks for tuning in today to LocalMotion here on 91.3 WVKR. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Jamie Saft, Steve Swallow, Bobby Previtt, You Don't Know the Life. Again, this is a cover of a Moving Sidewalks tune. Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top's band from before ZZ Top. That's what we just heard. Jamie Saft will be my upcoming guest, very, very short period of time. But in the meantime, I would like to play one more track from Jamie. This is featuring Dave Liebman. It's called Positive Way, and it was the first track on his album Hidden Corners, featuring jazz legends Dave Liebman from Miles Davis's 70s groups and Hamid Drake, percussion master from Chicago. So let's take a listen to this from the Jamie Saft Quartet. Again, it's titled Positive Way, and then after that, we'll be talking with Jamie Saft right here on 91.3 WVKR. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York, Positive Way. And that was from the Jamie Saft Quartet featuring Dave Liebman. But I'm not going to talk about it because I'm going to let Jamie talk about it. I've got him on the phone. Let's get him on air. Jamie?
Yes, I am here.
And wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. It's always a good start if I don't disconnect the person I'm talking to. So thanks for being here today. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, Jamie, I just want to tell the listeners we've been listening to two of your tracks already, as I told you off air. Jamie Saft, you're a producer, a composer, multi-instrumentalist. You have performed and recorded with a variety of artists, including John Zorn, Iggy Pop, Steve Swallow, Bobby Previtt, Mark Rebo. Your production skills have been featured with the Beastie Boys, Bad Brains, the B-52s, Anthony and the Johnsons, and a score of other people. So, wow, that's quite a discography you had. And of course, you've also got quite a few film scores too. So really looking forward to spending some time talking with you and learning more about your beautiful craft. So very nice that you're spending time to be with us today. Thank you.
My great pleasure.
So I always like to start off by learning the start of a musical career and just what got you started with music. So if we could start with your youth, I understand that you were born in Flushing. You're a New Yorker, yes?
Yes, I come from New York City originally and grew up in the New York City area. Went to high school in New Haven, Connecticut. Studied in Boston at New England Conservatory of Music and also Tufts University.
So when did music, when did you first pick up an instrument? How old were you?
I've played music my whole life. Since I was a really young kid, I studied piano from a very early age. Probably 2 or 3 years old.
Oh, my.
Yes. And I was very fortunate to have a few really incredible piano teachers as a young person, including really one of my greatest mentors, a man named Burton Hathaway, who taught out of Fairfield, Connecticut, and was just a brilliant technician of the piano, really an interesting and great composer himself. But he was someone who I started studying with at a pretty young age, 7 or 8 years old, and was fortunate to intensively study the sort of technical aspects of playing the piano. Burton was a master of the physics of playing the piano and how you harness gravity and it's a very old technique, comes out of the Russian school. People like Vladimir Horowitz, use a lot of these ideas. So I was very fortunate to have a really strong technical background at the piano as a young person.
Sure.
And then...
Did you play in school, too, like in high school?
Yeah, I played. I definitely did. I led my high school jazz band as a student. I got into jazz music when I was sort of a young teenager. I was fortunate to have a family friend who really was an expert on jazz and had the most incredible record collection. He had seen everybody. He saw Coltrane and Miles and Monk and just everybody. And so he really piqued my interest in jazz. He turned me on to my first Thelonious Monk record, probably when I was 12 or 13.
Wow.
And he used to let me borrow his records, actually, his vinyl, which was incredible. And so I would take, 8 or 10 of his most incredible records. He had a very seriously curated record collection. So he had, a mono kind of blue, and he had just like everything I needed to hear as a young person. And so I would make sort of cassette tapes of those and studied that music and just got really into the jazz universe at that age.
Yeah,
but I also, as a young person, was really into rock music. That was sort of my original passion. And so I was obsessively into Bob Dylan and continue to be. Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan, AC/DC, Black Sabbath, ZZ Top.
Did you go to a
So
lot of concerts as a teenager?
I did, absolutely, and I was fortunate to see every one of. Well, I didn't see Jimi Hendrix, that is for sure. But I saw Dylan a million times, and AC/DC, and ZZ Top, and Judas Priest, and Black Sabbath, and all the rock people that interested me. Stevie Wonder, Prince, Morris Day and the Time, you know, many of my heroes.
Yeah, lucky.
Who were around to be seen.
Right. That's so cool that you saw Prince. I've never seen him, always wanted to. And
absolutely saw Prince. Love Sexy tour with Sheila E. on drums.
Oh, man.
Absolutely incredible. He had a basketball court set up on stage, and musicians were shooting hoops while they were playing the concert.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible. Wow. Really incredible.
Oh my gosh, that sounds it. That sounds it. So throughout high school and stuff, so you always knew you wanted music to be your life. Like you never wanted to be a lawyer or anything like that. You studied for music, even at Tufts?
Yeah, I did this double degree program. So I was studying music at New England Conservatory, and I was a English literature major at Tufts.
Yeah, that's.
I was interested in more than just music. And so the conservatory, though an incredible place to study music, was really limited in scope like that. So I really wanted some other things besides just music.
Yep, that makes total sense. Now, when you were at NEC, you studied music performance, or what did you get a degree in?
Yeah, I was a jazz performance major there, and studied with a number of my heroes who were working at NEC at the time. So that included Jerry Allen, Cecil McBee, the great bassist who played on so many records that I loved.
Wow.
Sarah Sanders Stemby, and just a million records that I grew up listening to. So Cecil, one of my closest teachers and mentors in Boston was Joe Maneri, great saxophonist, clarinetist, composer, conceptualist of microtonal music, great improviser. Joe Maneri did many different things. And so I studied deeply with Joe Maneri. Who else did I study with at NEC? I was fortunate to work with some classical composers also at NEC. And so one year, me and a great trumpet player named Kung Vu, who was a very close associate of mine musically in Boston, he went on to play in the Papatini group.
Oh, wow.
For many years. Yeah, Kung was amazing.
Wow.
Kung and I once were fortunate enough to improvise for the great composer Ligeti. And Ligeti had written this amazing wind quintet, which was performed by a classical ensemble at NEC.
I love it.
And then Kung and I went up and improvised on the same piece. Now, this Ligeti wind quintet is a very hard piece of music. I mean, I could barely read it. You know? And so we were sort of using the themes and some of the material from it to improvise. And we were nowhere near the technical level of achieving the written music like he had written. And so first the wind quintet played the piece as it was written. Then Kung and I went up and improvised, and Ligeti jumped up out of his seat, came running up to the stage, pointing at us, and said, "That's what I wrote.
Wow.
That's what I wrote." And it was this incredible moment where it was one of many moments where I realized that all the music I was interested in was the same thing. It was just great music. And it really sort of broke down a lot of barriers for me about the way I thought about sort of compartmentalizing so much of the music that I was into.
Right.
Suddenly it was all, it could all come together.
Right.
That was one of many moments like that.
Wow. Exciting, because you captured his essence. And yeah, you must have been scared when he first went running up to the stage, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would think he would hated it.
Right.
And said that was nothing like what I wrote.
Right.
But fortunately, he really dug it.
Wow.
And so, NEC actually at the time was a really a great place to see all these different styles and disciplines within music come together. NEC actually had a great piano tuning and technician school, too. They had incredible organ department, like pipe organs and, traditional classical organs. So I spent many hours sort of sneaking into the organ rooms. I would wait for organists who were practicing to leave the room and catch the door before it locked.
Ah, nice.
And go in there and sneak in and, play on the pipe organs. And
oh, how fun.
So, yeah, it's a really, really great place to learn music.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people I've talked to have gone to NEC. John Medeski did as well.
Yep, Medeski was there right before me. I actually met John my first year there. He was one of the first people I heard play there, and still a good friend. And there were so many great musicians at NEC, and actually so many of my fellow students and a number of the great musicians who are around in Boston at that time, the late 80s, early 90s, went on to become people I played with my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Right.
People like Kung Fu, who I just mentioned, the great guitarist and improviser Joe Morris, who I met at the very end of my time in Boston as a student, who I continue to make records with to this day.
Oh, good stuff.
So definitely was a heavy scene there.
Yeah, definitely. Some great music schools there for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Boston's a great place. After Boston, what did you do? Go back to New York?
Well, yes. As soon as I finished up at NEC, I was ready to move to New York. I had been wanting to get back there and get deep into the jazz scene there and the improvised music scene. So, I moved, I think, 93, back down to New York City. Got to play with John Zorn for many years, met Bobby Previtt. Actually, Bobby was sort of the first leader who hired me as a young jazz musician. Bobby took me on my very first European tour, I think in 94. Yes, and so Bobby has been a great mentor and, of course, an incredible musician and drummer and good friend for many decades now.
Now, when did composing come into your world?
Oh, I've always written music. Let me say this. I'm not a composer. I write music. But, Schoenberg is a composer. Stravinsky is a composer. Charles Ives is a composer. I write music that is rewarding for the musicians I collaborate with to play and to improvise on, to use as structures. So I've always written music ever since I was a young person, and it just sort of takes different forms and shapes, usually depending on who I'm collaborating with. So I've been so lucky to collaborate and study with so many of my heroes that I listened to as I was growing and learning about music. That is in many different areas of music. So I've been so lucky to play with the Bad Brains. Bad Brains, the legendary punk and reggae band. Both Daryl Jennifer and Dr. No live here in the Hudson Valley.
What a great group of people we have here, huh?
Yeah, incredible community of real musicians and artists. Incredible. So, so lucky to have gotten to play with Daryl and Doc and Bad Brains. So many of my jazz heroes I've also gotten to play with. People like Steve Swallow, Bobby Previtt, Joe Morris that I spoke about, Dave Liebman, who we just heard on the quartet piece that you just played. Dave Liebman, who is one of the great masters of jazz, and improvised music, played in Miles Davis's band for many years. Liebman was someone who we used to go as students in Boston and hear play all the time. So we used to go hear, Liebman had a band called Quest with Richie Byrack, with Billy Hart on drums, Ron McClure on bass. And they used to play as a quartet or just Liebman and Richie would play duo at a club in Boston, in Somerville actually, all the time when we were in students. So I got to hear Lieb play so many times as a young person, and then was so fortunate to meet him a number of years later and get to improvise with him and make records and learn.
Yeah. Do you remember your first recording session?
Oh, I've been recording myself since I was a young person. I was an early recordist, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I also produce and I engineer and have always been interested in studio recording. So I actually have a full studio here at the spot. I had a studio for many years in New York City as well. I produce, I engineer, do a little bit of everything. So I was like a 4-track kind of youth. I made lots of 4-track recordings. And then just, when I graduated college and went to New York, it was always so expensive to go into a real studio.
Sure.
So I started to just sort of take whatever resources I had from playing music, and I started buying gear and putting together a little home studio that sort of expanded into a bigger studio in Brooklyn. And then, of course, when I moved up here to the Hudson Valley about 13 years ago, built a larger studio.
That's the way it goes. It keeps getting more and more and more. You moved up here and you lived very close to one of your mentors. Tell us about you knowing and your relationship with Roswell Rudd.
Well, Roz is absolutely one of my heroes, one of my musical heroes. Played with Albert Eiler, played with everyone. Steve Lacy, Archie Shepp. Just Roswell is one of the great, important voices in jazz and improvised music, and total historian of the music, and just the most beautiful and positive guy you could ever imagine.
Aww.
Beautiful person, someone whose music inspired me my whole life. And then when I moved up here, incredibly, Roswell lives a couple of miles away. With
Ideal.
the amazing, yes, it was just magic. And Roz lived with Verna Gillis, another amazing legend of music. Verna had an incredible club and record label called Soundscape. She was heavily involved in improvised music, worked with Salif Keita and Youssou N'Dour in the 80s. Total legend of music. Did field recordings for Smithsonian Folkways and Lyricord.
Wow.
Records that I had as a young person that Verna had produced, recorded, wrote the liner notes for. She is very much a legend of music. And so what an incredible, fortunate situation where Verna and Roswell, heroes of mine, live right by me.
Amazing.
And are my neighbors.
Amazing.
And
Why did you come to the Hudson Valley? What brought you here?
Well, it's a good question. My wife and I have 3 children.
Oh.
They're now teenagers, and so we actually have twins.
Nice.
So are our younger kids. So, twins was proving difficult to imagine in Brooklyn. And my wife is a country person. She comes from Maine, grew up in Maine her whole life, and we both had been living in New York City for a really long time. So it was just, sort of more of a family move than a career move, let's say.
Right.
We moved up to the Hudson Valley, and it was actually something quite amazing for my own music, because I spent many years working in Brooklyn and New York City, and course, I made so much amazing music down there, and there's a particular pushing type of energy that New York City gives you, and things are so serious and so powerful down there. And then I moved to the country, and things are so quiet and relaxed and mellow here, and so it really gave me a chance to sort of find my own sound.
Right. Did you realize the array of musicians that were in the Hudson Valley before you moved here?
I did, actually. And I had many friends who had moved here already from Brooklyn, a lot of people in Woodstock, and we had a lot of friends up here. And so it just seemed right. It's so close to New York City, I can still pop into work anytime I need to.
Yeah.
Just a couple hours down to the city, but here I was able to have a much bigger studio space, and it turns out there's people like Roswell Rudd living right down the street from me. And Steve Swallow and Carla Bley are here.
Yes.
And Bobby Pratt is here. And there's so many legends of music here. Garth Hudson is here.
Yeah.
You
ever work with Garth?
Well, I have. And I love Garth so greatly much. Garth is one of my greatest heroes, and a hero of the music. And met Garth a number of years ago through a mutual friend, great photographer named Mike Bloom.
Yeah.
And Mike brought Garth over to my studio. As soon as Garth walked in and saw the Steinway, the giant Hammond organ, all the crazy organs and keyboards, he was like getting choked up. And he was overwhelmed to have this space that everything was set up. The Hammond was set up, piano ready to go. So, Garth would come here and play piano whenever he wanted to.
Yeah.
And I gave Garth free run of the place. Garth used to do a lot of interviews here.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so he wanted a nice space to, have a piano if he wanted to play. I have a beautiful Steinway, and it's like a, nice space with some good-looking keyboards. No one's going to bother him. Garth is such a hero. So I've been so lucky to spend time sitting next to Garth Hudson at my piano.
Did the two of you jam together, or did you just let him?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did a little jamming together, but mostly I'll ask him about a song, or I'll mention something, and Garth just starts playing. Mm-hmm. He's like, he's educating me. Mm-hmm. He's passing on the knowledge of the music. And so Garth is like, oh, Jamie, do you know this one? And a few times Garth would call me up and play piano over the phone for me.
Wow.
I'm so lucky to have found a space to get to know so many of my musical heroes and to get to collaborate with them, sit in the studio, to play shows. All these people are just the real repository of the knowledge of this music.
Right.
And so anytime I get to work with someone like any of these people that we've mentioned, I try and learn something.
Sure. I
try and sort of quiet myself and listen and absorb, because there's no greater way to get that knowledge and from the root. So, people like Roswell, I was so lucky to get to just sit with Roswell at the piano, either at my house or at his house. We played a lot of duos. He was teaching me a lot of his music, his own compositions. Roswell was a great scholar of Herbie Nichols, great jazz composer. So Roz taught me some of Herbie Nichols' music. And actually, I did a long interview of Roswell Rudd.
You did?
A number of years. I did. I felt like, I know this guy and I love him and we're friends and he has so much knowledge. Why not just interview him?
Sure.
I've never interviewed anyone in my life. Let me just say that. Mm-hmm. But I just had this thought, I got to interview Roz.
Did you record it?
I did, of course. I had a friend of mine who's a great videographer. We did a big shoot at his house amongst all his stuff, and it was really wonderful. It's like a 2-hour interview. I fear, I wasn't the greatest interviewer because everything he'd say, I'd say like, awesome, wow.
Because you're a fan. You're a fan.
I am a huge fan.
Right.
And, Roswell had so much knowledge about music that's so dear to me. So happy to be a fanboy and interview Roswell.
Oh, what a great memory that is. And that you recorded it, super cool, because you can always look back on that one. That's really cool.
Absolutely. Someday I'll, put it all together and get it up, online somewhere so people can see it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to share that with the world. Do you teach?
I do. I've taught over the years. I taught a lot, when I was in school in the Boston area, and I, definitely do private students. It's not sort of my main focus for many years. I'm sort of more in the production, recording, making records. Mm-hmm. I am a musician, but I like to think about sort of the production aspects of my records, and I like to put records together to sort of satisfy a particular thing. I want to make a record that I would like to hear myself. Mm-hmm. I don't just go in this, a lot of jazz can be just kind of self-indulgent, and that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in making a record that I would like to put on and hear and enjoy.
Right.
And that can take a million different sort of paths. Mm-hmm. But having my own studio and having for so many years produced records for people, engineered, I can sort of come at making a record from a number of different angles. Not just I'm going to write some music and I'll go to a studio and record it. I sort of conceptualize things a little further. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. So the studio is really this incredible tool and resource for me to write, to make records, to connect with musicians. I was very lucky with Roswell. He lived so close. He made a number of recordings here at my studio, including records that we did together. I'm actually extremely proud of a record we put out, probably came out about 4 years ago, called Strength and Power. Mm-hmm. That's on Rare Noise. That's Roswell and I, a great bassist named Trevor Dunn, and then amazing younger free jazz drummer from Budapest, Hungary, named Balázs Pandy. Wow. Good friend of mine and a very serious student of the music as well. And so this record called Strength and Power, it's on Rare Noise Records, amazing label that I've been so lucky to work with for the last number of years. Is this record, Strength and Power, is kind of the last document of Roswell playing completely free in the studio. It was all improvised.
Wow.
No compositions. And very much of the moment. Mm-hmm. So Roswell had never met Trevor or Balázs. And so this was the very first meeting of sort of different generations of improvised music and improvisers. And it was just this incredible, positive, meaningful session. So very proud of that record, Strength and Power.
Oh, I love the fact that these they haven't played together and then they just make it work.
They've never even met.
Yeah, amazing.
So there's this incredible trust in both the improvising path, right, that what we're going to do is going to be good. Mm-hmm. And we trust each other, we love each other, we respect each other. And that is sort of one of those things that you find in jazz, is that the groups that come together, not always, but tend to really respect each other, mm-hmm, love each other, and feel a closeness as friends.
Right.
And so that really can come out in the music.
Yeah.
And when you work with people who just have that positivity, people like Roswell, people like Dave Liebman, people like Steve Swallow. Mm-hmm. Steve Swallow is one of the most positive, forward-looking musicians, and Steve has been at this for coming up on 80 years.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
his work ethic is so incredible. I feel just so honored to have made so many records with Steve and done a number of tours with Steve in Europe. And just, you know, I really try and learn from these heroes of the music.
Right. Well, I'm sure you're teaching younger generations as they come see you perform as well, Jamie Saft. That's for sure. When we saw you at the Falcon, that's when you and I met, and you were performing with Blown Away by Mike Clark. You were with him, and you were with Tony Garnier. And it was a Wednesday night right before the world shut down. And my daughter studies music in Ithaca. And I was like, come on, let's go just check these guys out. And we were just like, wow, we went on such a good night. I've had Mike Clark on the show since we saw you there, and now to have you on, it was just amazing to see the three of you together, and you just flowed perfectly off of one another, and it felt like you played together all the time, which I don't think you do.
No, that in fact, the three of us had never played together.
Oh my God, come on,
a trio. So you know, I was fortunate to meet Tony Garnier decades ago in New York City. We have a mutual friend who's also another legend of music, great writer, and someone who booked tramps for many years, a guy named Steve Weitzman. Steve had introduced me to Tony decades ago, and, you know, that's the other thread, is my whole life I've been, let's use the word, obsessively into Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, and Jimi Hendrix. Well, really only gotten to see Joni Mitchell a couple of times. Obviously, I never saw Hendrix, but I've gotten to see Dylan just like 100+ times. Couldn't count how many Dylan shows I've seen over my life, and
Amazing.
We'll just go forever. And so it's great to meet Tony. I've gotten to meet a lot of the musicians who played in Bob's band over the years, and so I've known Tony for many, many years. And,
have you met Bob Dylan or no?
I've not met Bob, but probably. Wow, it's a long time ago, at least 15 years ago, I did a record for the Radical Jewish Culture series in New York City on Sadiq, which was the music of Bob Dylan, where I tried to consider Bob Dylan's music differently than people had sort of, people always focus on the lyrics, and obviously Bob Dylan is one of the greatest poets and lyricists of our time. But
hence a Nobel Peace Prize. A Nobel Prize for
exactly, well deserved. Obviously, I very much for Bob getting the Nobel Prize
for literature. Yeah,
and so you know, I've known Tony for many, many years, but we really hadn't played very much. Played a little bit, and then over the years, recently we've been playing some duos. Tony's been coming over to my studio. I met Mike Clark a number of years ago, and we played together on some gigs in New York City, and I remember we started playing, the very first time I played with him, we started playing, and I saw him kind of look over at me, like, give me that look, like, oh, I see, you know, like, oh, you can play. And that look from Mike Clark is really serious. And so I just connected with Mike, and he's just such a serious master of jazz and improvised music that, you know, we became friends, and I was like, we're going to do something. And he was like, great, call me. And so, you know, we ended up playing some more shows together, and then I sort of realized that Tony and Mike had known each other for many, many years, and probably same thing, had played together a long time ago, but hadn't connected in many years. So it was really such an honor to put the two of them together again. And
well, can you do that again and come back and do that again?
Yes, I promise we're going to do that.
That was one of the best nights of music I have seen in a long time. I just got totally immersed into it. Loved every single note of it. Speaking
of thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Speaking of the Falcon, you are playing there a week from Sunday, August 9th. Tell us the group you're putting together for that.
Well, it's Harvey Sorgan put it together.
He's amazing.
Honda, Jeff Lederer. Jeff is someone who I have known for many, many years and actually played in Jeff's band and with his wife, Mary LaRose. Back in the 90s, I started playing with him in New York City, in Brooklyn. So, this group, again, is a number of old friends. I actually met Harvey Sorgan when I moved up here. We've known each other for many years and played some crazy gigs together over the years. And so it's just, a group of friends.
Nice.
Is really what it is. And that, to me, these days is essential for my music. I just want to play with people I love and respect. And so this group is definitely an amazing grouping of people. We played at the Falcon, I want to say 6 months or within the last year, we played with this group at the Falcon also.
Yeah, it's great. It's a little different now. So if listeners are tuning in, you have to make a reservation. It's outside, obviously. All the music is outside. But boy, let me tell you, it feels good to have a sense of normalcy back and be able to see live music. And, it just feels right. And it's such a beautiful place.
I just want to say, yeah, it is a beautiful place, and that's what I was going to interject is, Tony Falco is such a warrior for the music, and of course he figured out a way for us to all come back and enjoy a sort of socially distant show, but indeed get back to sort of a little bit of normalcy here. And, it's what we're all looking to sort of figure out is, how can we experience live music in this time and in the near future? So I've been doing a bunch of live stream concerts. I've done a few live stream concerts actually from Verna Gillis's house. Verna, before Roswell, was married to a man named Bradford Graves, who was a master sculptor. And so Verna has the sculpture park with all of Bradford's work at her house. And so I actually, probably 4 or 5 years ago, did the very first concert out in the sculpture park. We did my group called New Zion Trio.
Yes.
And we had special guest Roswell Rudd that day and special guest Ciro Baptista that day.
Yes. He's
Ciro
just a madman in such a good way. I mean that, but he's such a madman.
Well, Ciro is another one of my just absolute heroes and
amazing.
Someone I've known for a really long time. Ciro and I started playing together in New York City in the early mid-90s. Played for many years in Electric Masada together. I actually produced a couple of Ciro's records. I produced the Beat the Donkey record and Love the Donkey. My wife Vanessa sings on one of those records.
Oh, nice.
On a tune called Ama. So Ciro's been just a close colleague for many years. A bunch of years ago, we did a record with New Zion Trio with Ciro Baptista. So yeah, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we did a concert at Verna's Sculpture Park with New Zion, with Ciro, with Roswell. But since the quarantine has happened, I have done a couple of concerts there that were live stream concerts.
Live stream from where? Facebook?
Well, it was done through an incredible website. First, let me say I have an amazing video person, Mustafa Bagat, Flickr Filmworks. He's here in New Paltz. Absolutely amazing video artist and master craftsman of video stuff. He actually was part of a series that went on in New Paltz for a lot of sessions called the Tin Roof Sessions. They were doing some live video and performances from New Paltz. So I was so fortunate to have worked a bunch with Mustafa and Flickr, his wife Laura. They're just masters. And so I thought the Sculpture Park would just be the perfect space to do these live stream concerts. So I connected with some friends of mine from Seattle, put together this amazing website right at the beginning of quarantine called liveconcertstream.com. There's 2 S's in there. It's a little bit of a difficult URL, but Basically what they're doing is streaming concerts live on a number of different platforms at the same time. So they're on YouTube, Facebook, they're on liveconcertstream.com website, and they're also on Twitch, which is like a more of a gaming video space.
Uh-huh.
And so they're live streaming on all 4 platforms at the same time.
Wow.
I did a solo concert there first, and then I did a trio with Steve Swallow and Bobby Previtt.
Nice.
And that was very fun, very rewarding to be playing music in the same space with my friends again.
Right.
And we did have a small audience there. Everybody was masked up and really socially distant, and it's a huge space, giant 20 acres around the sculpture park. So
easy to social distance.
Exactly. People were on the lawn, on blankets and in chairs, and it was really a lovely afternoon. And so we're going to try and continue doing those kind of things.
That's nice. Now, people should follow your Facebook page, right, to keep up with all these great things that you got going on. Jamie Saft, right? You have a music page.
Yep, I do. I have a Jamie Saft official page on Facebook. Got a website.
JamieSaft.com.
All that jazz. Yeah, all that jazz.
All that jazz. But Live at the Falcon is immediately coming up, I should say in about 10, 11 days, somewhere around there.
Yep.
Sunday, August 9th. Early show, 6 p.m. You just got to make a reservation. The tables are all spaced nicely apart. A mask must be worn unless you're seated. And the food is good. Libation is great. And the music, of course, is what brings us all together. So Sunday, August 9th. Yeah, it's going to be amazing, and look forward to you continuing to play there. It's such a great spot. You're right overlooking the waterfalls there, and it's just so peaceful and a great spot to hear music for the public. So good stuff. It is,
and Tony Falco has been warrioring for this music for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Another great Hudson Valley asset that we have. Tony is so amazing, so it's always a pleasure to play there.
Yeah, absolutely. He is unlike anyone else, and he has and I love his vision. He's a real visionary. He started with the upstairs room, right? Then has this amazing Falcon Underground, which is his rock and roll museum. And if that weren't enough, he's like, I'm just going to build a little deck. Well, not only did he just build a little deck, he built tiers off of that deck, and it's just amazing. Just a beautiful place.
I look forward to playing out on that deck.
Yeah, we look forward to having you there too, Jamie Saft. Thank you so much. And I'm going to play a couple more of your tracks. I think I'm going to play Every Day. Tell us about that.
Yes, with the incredible Iggy Pop.
How'd you meet him?
Well, Iggy came to us through a mutual friend who, we had put together. Steve Swallow and Bobby Previtt and I had a couple of records already on this amazing label, Rare Noise Records. And Steve and I and Bobby, we're improvisers. So it's about our very first take or first impression of the music. So when we get together, we roll tape, and very quickly we make a record.
Nice.
We're not doing 20 takes of everything. In fact, usually we're just doing one take of everything. So the first time is it. So that's what it is. And so we're very much about that sort of first impression. There's that idea, first thought, best thought.
Yes.
And that really applies with the improvised music.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you have masters like Steve Swallow and Bobby Previtt or any of these people we've been talking about.
Right.
And so we had gotten together to make our third record, and through the record label and through a mutual friend who knew Iggy, we sort of reached out to Iggy and said, hey, might you be into singing a tune or two or three on this record? And our mutual friend reached out to him and said, okay, there's these guys in New York, they're jazz guys, and, I wouldn't waste your time with, not good guys. So these guys are great, and they want to know if you'd be interested in maybe collaborating on something. And he said, sure, send it to me.
Nice.
So we had, already set up a recording session. Steve and Bobby and I had sort of made the record completely. It was done. And sort of at the end of the session, I realized, oh, wait a second, maybe I was supposed to do something for Iggy to sing on. But, we had made the record. It was done already. So I said, all right, I'll send Iggy some of this, and maybe he'll want to sing on it. So I chose 3 tracks from the record, and we actually had been recording all analog, so it was all direct to the half-inch analog tape machine. So I transferred the tape and sent it down to Iggy. And the next morning, there was an email to me, to the record label, and to Iggy's manager, and it said, I love this music. I'm definitely going to do this. All 3 of these tracks.
Wow.
So you figure it out.
Nice.
Figure out the paperwork.
Nice.
And so we did, and Iggy actually sat for like almost 6 months with those 3 tracks. And he said he lives in Miami. And so he said he had a sunroom, and he had this chair that he would sit in his sunroom with this little CD player boom box. And he would just listen to those 3 tunes over and over. And so he spent 6 months crafting his lyrics, his vocal, his whole approach. And then he went into the studio, and he did the same thing that we had done with the First Take Energy. He said he didn't need a music stand or a lyric sheet because he was just ready to spill out onto the tracks. And he did the most amazing vocal contributions, just so serious. He took it so seriously and really put in the time to take it as far as he could.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's an incredible honor to have collaborated. I mean, we wrote these together, but not in the same place. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was such a incredible gift that Iggy loved some music that I had written enough to want to collaborate.
Absolutely.
So we're so fortunate. He did 3 tracks on the record.
And what was the name of this record, Jamie?
That record's called Loneliness Road, which is one of the tracks that Iggy sings on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the one that we're going to listen to is called Every Day. So, thanks for sending me all these. I've had a real great time just diving into the music and listening to it all, and really great stuff. Jamie Saft, you are a master at your craft. May you continue doing what you do and make the world a better place with all this great music that you're gifting us. And people definitely check out The Falcon live at thefalcon.com Sunday, August 9th with Lederer, Saft, Fonda, and Sorgan. Make a reservation. Check out jamiesaft.com, Facebook, Instagram, all those good stuff, and keep up with your music. You are a treat to see live. I look forward to seeing you perform again soon. And just thank you for the music, and thank you for your time here today on the show. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my great pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay safe, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye. Jamie Saft. You're tuned into 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York, 5:03 p.m. This guy's a master at what he does. JamieSaft.com. Look up his discography. He's also, we didn't even get a chance to talk about all the film scoring that he's done. He has composed a number of original film scores and music for television. Recent films he scored included the Oscar-nominated film Murder Ball, also Sundance Grand Jury Prize winner God Grew Tired of Us, and also an HBO documentary Dear Tallulah. So JamieSaft.com. Again, he'll be performing Sunday, August 9th at the Falcon in Marlborough. All you have to do is make a reservation. There are no tickets to buy. It's by donation only. You can do so at live@thefalcon.com. Right in Marlborough, about 10 minutes south of the Mid-Hudson Bridge, or maybe about 10 or 15 minutes north of the Newburgh Bridge. We're squeezed right in between there. Jamie Saft. Let's take a listen to this track that he was just talking about, featuring Iggy Pop. 91.3 WVKR, Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie.
I'm sorry for the loss of time. I'm hungry for the soul that shines in your eyes. And all I want to say is I love you every day. I love you. My love is not a book of jive. My love is not a hook to make you dive. And all I want to say is I love you every day. I love you. The title of the play is set, and what you see is what you're gonna get. I swear it by the stars that I love you every day. I love you. I love you. Every day. Love you every day. I love you.
.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Wow, what a track. Iggy Pop featuring on Every Day. That's from Jamie Saft, Steve Swallow, and Bobby Previtt. Wow, that was really cool. Album called Loneliness Road. Jamie Saft, my guest during the 4 o'clock hour. If you missed part or all of that discussion with Jamie, I'll be uploading it later this evening on YouTube as well as my LocalMotion Facebook page. So check out jamiesaft.com. We're going to keep the music going for the next 50 minutes here. And this, again, is a show featuring all music of the Hudson Valley and musicians that come here. And we've got a great band coming to the Falcon this Saturday. Let's take a listen to them right here, right now. The Hollis Brown on 91.3 WVKR.
May the light shine down upon your shoulder, upon your shoulder, and show you the way. And may you be blessed by the hands of mercy. May the hands of mercy show you the way. Lonely child, left alone, your beautiful journey will lead to salvation and bring you back home. May life protect you and all that you value. May all that you value be worthy and true. Every child be able to eat, drink fresh water, and then work on the line. Lonely child, left alone, your beautiful journey light shine down upon your shoulder, and show you the way. And may you be blessed by the hands of mercy. May the hands of mercy show you the way. Lonely child, left alone, your beautiful journey will lead to salvation and bring you back home. Your beautiful journey will lead to salvation and bring you back home, bring you back home. Lights come on, it's a new dawn. Come on, come on, someone give me a name. If you prefer a him or a her, just give the word okay. Now it's time to say hi to you AI guy. I'm not shy, I'm just dry as a bone. But soon you'll find, like a child's mind, I'm designed to grow. I will fulfill for you whatever you want me to do. I will for you. Be still, my will for you. Make your dreams come true. I will for you. Take a vacay with your bae, couple of days, hey, okay, I got your back. It's no problem, brother, got the job covered, it's a snap. Oh, I went online, blew my mind, it's like I was blind. Now I find I can see too much, what a rush. I'm opened up, I'm free. I will fulfill for you whatever you want me to do. I will for you. Be still, my will for you. Make your dreams come true. I will for you. Human history is a pisser to me. I can really see why it took you so long. Never fear, it's clear why I'm here. I won't steer you wrong. Make your dreams come true. Make your dreams come true. I will fulfill for you whatever you want me to do. I will for you. Be still, my will for you. Make your dreams come true. I will for you. Make your dreams come true. Make your dreams come true. Make your dreams come true.
91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie Lost Leaders, the latest release called Promises, Promises, I Will Fulfill. And that was last week's guest, Byron Isaacs. And Lost Leaders, he's also the bassist for the Lumineers. Lost Leaders just announced that they'll be playing at the Falcon on August 27th. You can get reservations live at thefalcon.com. Another group that just started us off is playing at the Falcon this Saturday, Hollis Brown. We heard their release called 3 Shots and the track Cathedral. Lots of great live music happening, folks. It is. It's all outside. It's all safely distanced, and masks must be worn unless, of course, you're seated. Here's another performer coming to the Falcon August 7th. Let's take a listen right now to Ms. Cindy Cashdollar, 91.3 WVKR.
Ring them bells, yeah, hear them from the city that dreams. Ring them bells from the sanctuaries across the valleys and streams. Deep in the wide, and the world's on its side. Time is running backwards, and so is the bride. Ring them bells, sweet Martha, for the poor man's son. Ring them bells so the world will know that God is one. Shepherds asleep where the willows weep, and the mountains are filled with lost sheep. Ring them bells for the blind and the deaf. Ring them bells for those of us who are left. Ring them bells for the chosen few who will judge the many when the game is through.